Neil Fraser, Trishula,
Yeah,
congratulations on the new album, Becoming the Enemy, which comes out January 24th, 2025 on Pride and Joy Records.
yeah,
Uh, let's first start off before we get into the album and stuff. This was actually a solo project, right? In 2015?
yeah. I'd been with I think the last band I was with was a band called Rage of Angels,
Uh-huh.
which was a band set up by a guy called Ged Rylands, who's now with a band called Tyketto.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, so he plays keyboards with them, and before that he was with a group called Ten.
I know them
Uh,
too. Yep.
so I did a stint with him. I did played on two of his albums and did some live dates with him and stuff back in about 2014. And that when that was coming to an end, I thought I need to get something else on the agenda really. So I thought, well, I wonder if I can do this myself. I wonder if I can write my own songs and stuff. So that's how it started, really. I thought, well, I'll have a crack at this and see if I can write an album, and that's where the first Trishula album came from, really.
Cool, cool. Definitely, definitely. And that was Scared to Breathe,
That,
which came out 2019.
that's it. Yeah.
I went down all your albums and stuff like that. Everyone, like the reviews were all favorable.
Oh, good.
Nothing bad or nothing like that. And like
Yeah.
saying, don't even buy this or whatever. Everything was favorable, and it seemed like all the reviews I read, every album got better.
Oh,
You know,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now we
That's
got
good.
the new one should be a 10 out of 10.
Y-
Like the what do you call it? The We All Fall Down. One guy said it's brilliant. You
Yeah.
know, so like
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's good.
So
I always think it's up to the listener. I'm not one of them guys that starts blowing the trumpet. I just think we've done what we've done. Let's see what the people think, and it's up to them. And I always leave it to the people to say.
right, yeah, definitely, definitely. So from Scared to Breathe to Time Waits for No Man, how much has your writing or music changed from that album to the second album?
Well, from the first, this is just my opinion, really. The first album, I think, like all bands or artists, you've got a lot of time to write it. Really, from the moment I started writing the first album, it probably took 4 years probably to come up with enough songs for the first album. So I had plenty of time to write the songs. I can't remember really having excess songs left over. I think what I wrote went on the album pretty much. The second album, that seemed to come together very quickly because we did the first one. The first one came out in 2019. I think the second one, and with COVID and stuff going on as well, it came out in 2020, I think.
Oh, sweet.
Um, and I don't quite know how we managed to do that, but and to write the songs as well. I can always remember the second album feeling easier to write, and it seemed to be flowing, and everything seemed to come together really easily. I think I always look back on the first album as more the way my writing has changed. I wrote the first album on guitar because I'm a guitar player. So I wrote the first album on guitar, and any keyboards I added afterwards. But the way the writing's changed is I quite often write a song on a keyboard, even though I can't really play a keyboard. I
Right.
can fiddle my way around on it and
Yeah.
get what I want to get out of it, but I can't really sit and play a keyboard. And then the guitars tend to get added secondary, if you know what I
Right.
mean, rather than the thing be wrote on the guitar with the just a complement of keyboards. I think and I notice a lot of other writers seem to do that as well. They start off real heavy with the guitar, unless they
Right.
stay really heavy. But a lot of writers I've noticed do a similar thing. They tend to do a transition across to keyboards. Even
Right.
people like Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he sort of, you know what I mean. So I think that's how the writing's changed, and I've always had a yearning to try and get back to a little bit more guitar orientated because that's what I am.
Right.
and maybe a little bit heavier, always having that first album in the back of my mind, So
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like really, and the first album took a while to write, and
Yeah,
then the ball just started rolling. I mean, like 1 year only the next one, and then the next one only like 2 years, and this
yeah,
one again only 2 years. That's pretty quick.
yeah. I'm quite pleased and sort of proud of that. It is planned, really. I try to. I mean, I'm writing all the time. I'm already working on the next album,
Uh-huh.
But every time an album's finished, I've already because that's what I do. I go up in my room and write stuff. And so it's just an ongoing process, really. It's not really a case of oh, we've written this one, so we're gonna write another one. I'm writing all the time.
Yeah.
So once one album's out, I'm keen to start getting the idea together for the next one.
Right.
And usually I've kind of finished my bit, and because what I do, I write all the stuff at home and I record most of it at home, and then I go into a pro studio. Usually, I take
Right.
all them files over to a pro studio, and they start doing the stuff, and things get re-recorded and all that sort of stuff, and that's really what takes the time. That always seems to take 8 or 9 months to get
Right.
that part of the process done. But yeah, but I'm quite happy with the pace of the way the albums are sort of being released. Really, quite happy with that.
Cool. Cool. Now you went with Pride and Joy. Tell me what they bring to the table and how'd you get signed to them?
I love them. I love
Yeah.
them. So the way this kind of went, really, the first two albums were signed to AOR Heaven,
Okay.
another German label, and that went great. Another musician that I know, another singer that I know, he put me onto them when I was doing the first album. And that went great. But the guy that owns that label decided I think he's basically retired pretty much.
Right.
Um, and then I think Brigitte, who owns Pride and Joy Music, she used to work with George that owned
Right. Yeah.
AOR Heaven. So there was a
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
You probably know all this stuff. So I knew Brigitte through the marketing side of AOR Heaven when I was with
Right.
them on for the first two albums.
Yeah.
So when George kind of packed up, the third album I put out independently, and
Right.
then when it came to this album, I thought I'll just give Brigitte a try and see if she's interested in this music.
Yeah.
And lucky for me, she was because
Cool.
she's amazing. She's been absolutely brilliant, and she's amazing. So I'm really really pleased that I'm signed with Brigitte and Pride and Joy Music.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. She's really accommodating at least for me, she is. I mean, she sends me press release, press release, press release. I listen to them all and
Mm.
I pick out what I like. And mostly the thing is, if she's sending me 10 press releases, I might like all 10 bands. So,
Yeah.
like, I try to pick what I really enjoyed the most. And one of
Oh,
your
brilliant.
new albums was hers. She's great.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's
Great.
great. I love her. Yeah, she's great.
Cool, cool. So let's go down track by track and tell me a little bit about each song and stuff like that. And this way fans get to hear from your mouth, about the song, you know?
O-
Let's start with Wardance.
Okay. I think, well, one of my little usually on at least one of the songs on an album is to write a big introduction to the song, like quite a big dramatic um, opening sort of part to the song. So that's probably where that song started. A thing that kind of I've kind of not deliberately. I haven't really used this theme, but on in this song, I tend to write the music first. I write the vocal melodies, some
Uh,
of the lyrics. The singer usually writes verses, some of the verses, but I always like to get the chorus nailed up
right,
myself.
yeah, yeah,
So that anyway, in a nutshell, this particular song, it's a war. It's kind of it's trying to sort of say what's the point in war, really. So
Right.
the start of the chorus is, and that's the theme for me anyway. That's the theme
Right.
of the song. The world can do. I think it's something like the world can do without him fighting for someone's war, but
Right.
can a mother live her life without her son? So
Yeah.
that's the theme is, it's all right sending all these people off to fight a war, but there's mothers in the background with
Right.
sons and how are they going to cope if the son gets killed? So that's the theme of what Wardance is all about, really. And I've sort of fell into that theme on previous albums, and sort of, I don't know if it's anti-war, but it's
Right.
I just think, what's the point? That's
Right. Yeah.
that's that theme, really. I think it crops up twice on this album, that sort of thing.
Cool.
So,
Cool. Cool.
so that's what it is. I'm not a big political shouter, but that's
Yeah.
just where the sort of story came from for that one.
Cool. Cool. How about track number two? Will heaven ever give us what we need?
Well, that's the same sort of theme, really. That really is about same again. I always go for the choruses and make sure the choruses are written. And that one is it's another war type related thing where you see, people are fighting over religious beliefs,
Yeah.
and you think, and some people are really, really fanatical about their belief, and they think that when they die, they're going to go to a nice place and a better place and all the rest of it. And that there really is a question. Really, it's really a question. It should have a question mark at the end. Like after we've done all this and fought, and given our lives for this belief that we've got, will heaven actually give us what, if or whatever you call heaven? Is it
Right.
going to give us what we thought we were going to get? So that's what the sentiment is in that one.
Cool. Cool. And what do you feel when you die? What happens?
Well, I'll I probably feed the flowers, I suppose.
That's a lot of people think. A lot of people think you just dust and
That, yeah,
evaporate God.
yeah,
A lot of people I ask that question to, and they mostly everybody says the same thing.
yeah. I mean,
It's like a regeneration.
I completely understand people that have got, that the faith, whatever their faith is, and that's fine. I don't know what I believe really. I don't know what I believe, but I don't think I've got a strong belief in an afterlife. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll find out one day.
yeah. Track number three, when I gave you everything.
This one was, it's amazing how I can remember what these things were inspired by. It was a girl that I know, a friend. She's actually a singer. I did play in a band for a short spell with her, uh, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, she broke up from her partner, I think he was her husband, like
Uh-huh.
and it just inspired the story. I'd probably written the music and got an idea of how the tune was going to go, and that one really is about the sort of the shock of somebody that thinks they've given their partner everything and thought that they were loved, and then all of a sudden it's
Uh-huh.
all over, and it's kind of a, you what?
Yeah,
I thought I gave you everything, like, So that's what that's about.
yeah, yeah. I thought usually if it's a woman, it just says, "Give me my wallet," and then that's it.
That's it. Yeah, the wallet, the wallet wasn't big enough. Yeah,
No, that's it.
yeah.
So the walls of Eden.
Oh yeah, the war. There's no real story behind that. Sometimes the hook line that I put in the choruses is just I can't remember anything in particular that inspired that line. It was just that line. I can't remember how the rest of the chorus goes, but it was just a line that fitted the song, and it just got a bit of a sort of a bit of character about it, really. So there was
Right.
no real particular story about that. It was just the hook line, that I quite liked, and I thought we can build a song around that hook line, really, or lyrically.
Cool.
So no particular story behind that one.
Right, yeah. How about the long goodbye?
Right, that one is the most sort of personal song to me on the whole album, and it came about because I was talking to some friends a while back now, a year or two ago, uh, and one of the friends was a nurse, and we were talking about my mum at the time because my
Uh-huh,
mum had dementia.
uh-huh,
She died last year, but she had dementia, uh, and this lady that I was talking to said they often call dementia the long goodbye
right,
because it's a long process, you know.
yeah,
And so that song I wrote that about my mum, but about my dad as well, and about the situation that they'd been married for a long time, and she didn't realize who he was,
right,
and if you can see the lyrics at all, or if you ever see the lyrics, it's about seeing somebody as she used to see my dad as three different people,
wow,
and one of them she didn't know who he was. One of them was uh, him by his name, Pete,
right,
and the other one was Dad, which I obviously call him, and she used to call him as well if I was in the conversation. So that there is all about my mum and dad's situation in my mum's latter years, which was only last year, 2023 she went. So that's what that's about. Yeah,
wow. You wonder how that could happen. Like you just forget everything,
I
you
know.
know?
It's
Uh,
crazy.
Yeah,
I
like
know.
you know, you're normal. I think the same thing like cancer or anything. Like,
Mm,
you know, you're 65 and all of a sudden you got cancer. What all them years, nothing,
yeah,
nothing, nothing, and then all of a
nothing.
sudden, you know,
Yeah. You never know, do you? You never know what's around the
yeah,
corner.
you
I
know,
never would have believed in a million years that my mum would have gone from the lovely person that she was
right.
into this. In the end, she didn't know anything about anything. Like, she was just a shell, really.
Right,
In
yeah,
the
yeah,
end,
yeah, yeah.
terrible disease.
Sad, you know,
Yeah.
it's sad. You're my donation.
Right. Now that one, all the lyrics on that one were written by the singer.
Uh-huh.
So I hand over the song, all recorded. I put a guide vocal line down. I record and sing that myself with no real lyrics in there. It's just the tune to sing.
Right.
He follows that tune, so I haven't got a clue what that's about.
Cool, cool, cool. How about Here Comes the Night?
Yeah, that one. That's really about a person that is scared of going to bed and going to sleep at night because of the nightmares.
Uh-huh.
So it's all about here comes the night. I can't remember the words exactly, but it's all about going to bed and being fearful of the nightmare that you're going to fall into when you fall asleep.
Right, yeah.
So it's all about here comes the night and here comes all the terror and the fear of the nightmare. So that's what that's about.
So how do you come up with these lyrics and stuff like that? It's so like deep and like,
Well, it's
you know?
usually. I mean, I'm always honest about everything. I mean, I don't write every single word of the songs, but I write. I feel like I write the majority. I always like to nail up the choruses and the hook lines to make sure they're how I want them to be. I usually write some of the verses. Some songs I write pretty much everything.
Right, yeah.
Others, like the one "You're My Detonation," I didn't write any of the words on that. But that story there was, I think it was inspired by a friend that's got mental health problems, and it was just something that inspired a sort of a story in my head.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, all sorts of things. It's usually, I could be some of them on here. Um, I'll be watching a film, or it's somebody I know, or it's a personal experience. It depends, really.
Right, yeah. But if like you're doing something and you don't like last night I had a dream and like there was a cool like name in the dream and I wanted to
Yeah,
tell one of my musician friends about it. But I didn't
yeah.
write it down. I forgot what it was, you
Well,
know.
this is it. I
You know. So
yeah.
Yeah. So
I've done that
listening.
with music. I've got up in the middle of the night and just had a tune in my head, and I've jumped out of bed and gone in where I do my recording and
Yeah.
just got the basic ideas down because I
Yeah.
know it'll be gone in the morning, like,
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of friends, musician friends that they use their phone a lot. Like if something pops
I
up, they
do,
just
yeah,
go into
I
the, yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good
I'll just
idea.
grab it with the little voice recorder on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
good idea.
yeah, cool, cool. How about wait for a minute?
Wait, well, let me just have a think now. Wait for a minute. I'm trying to think what the inspiration for that was. Yeah, I think it came from. I watched a TV series on the TV, and it was about a guy. I don't know whether you've seen it over where you are, but it was called The Last Kingdom.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And it basically it was a main character set back in the Viking times, and he was a real good warrior, and he used to go off fighting these big battles and things, and he had a few wives, but he
Right.
used to leave them behind, and they'd be worrying about when he was going to come back, whether he was going to come back at all from these
Right.
battles. He was a great warrior, like it was a brilliant
Uh-huh.
series. I loved it. And so that was inspired by that. I think the sort of the words that have come from the inspiration in the chorus are actually the backing vocals, and they're saying stuff like "wait for a minute," "lay for a minute," "pray for a minute," and it's
Right.
all about somebody saying, hang on a minute, don't go just yet. Let's have a moment together before you go because you might not come back."
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what that's about. Yeah.
Cool, cool. How about down, down, down?
That one, not a lot of meaning to that. It was just a line that sort of fitted, that hook line sort of fitted uh, the song. And that's all I'd got when I handed it over to the singer. So
Uh,
he wrote everything else, and I've just got this hook line in the chorus, like.
cool,
So
cool,
no real meaning to that at all. Just something that sounded
cool,
okay to me, really.
cool, cool. How about the last track? Hold my hand.
Yeah, that one's kind of started. That's another sort of personal thing that was to do with my daughter, and it started off. I don't know quite know how it ended up. I think it might have got a bit more sort of power in it as it went along, as I sort of developed the song. But she had a worry, and going back to it's all a bit depressing, really, isn't it? She had a little bit of a cancer scare,
Uh-huh.
and I was sort of when I was sort of coming up with the lyrics for it, it was basically as a father saying to
Right,
your daughter, "Hold my hand, like here's
right,
my
yeah.
hand, hold my hand while you're going through this worrying time." So that's where it started. I can't remember can't remember how it ended up, but that was the initial sort of seed to sort of start sort of putting the lyrics together, like. So yeah, the ideas come from all over the place, like.
Right, yeah. Wow, wow. Can you tell me about the members of who played on the album?
Yeah, we uh, obviously myself. There's the keyboard player is a guy called Rick Benton,
Uh-huh.
and he plays in he's a real experienced guy. Like he's been playing with a band called Magnum.
Oh yeah, I know them. Yep.
So he's been in Magnum for I think he might have been in for 8 or 9 years now,
Wow.
maybe a touch longer. But he replaced their keyboard player,
Uh-huh.
and he's played on the sort of last few albums and stuff. He's toured all over the place with them and everything. So he's real experienced. But
Right.
I'm lucky in the fact that I've known Rick for a long time. We played in bands when we were kids. And we bumped into each other through Magnum. I went to see Magnum. I know some of the other men. Well, I know them all really, but
Yeah.
went to a gig in Manchester in the UK,
Uh-huh.
and anyway hooked up with Rick again after a long time, and he said, "Oh, are you doing an album, aren't you? The first one of these Trishula albums." And he said, "Oh, if you want any keyboards doing, give us a shout." Like so. Anyway, Rick came on board. We've sort of rebonded out. We're really good friends, really close friends, and that. And he's a fantastic musician. So Rick's on keyboards. We've got a guy called Dan Clark on bass, who's a great bass player as well. He's worked with Rick before, so he sort of came as part of
Yeah.
a package with Rick. And then we also did have on the last album, we had a drummer called Lloyd Dacre, and he
Oh,
also has worked with Rick and Dan before in previous bands, and he
right.
came, a brilliant drummer, came as part of the package. But anyway, he couldn't do this album, so we went back to another great drummer called Neil Ogden,
Hmm.
who I know as well, I've known before, and he played on our second album.
Right.
Sort of came and did it, but he couldn't do the live stuff. He's in a band called Demon, and he
Hmm.
does a lot of work with them. Um, so he played on this album on the drums. The singer is the same singer that's done all four albums up to now, Jason Morgan.
Uh-huh.
So the lineup, well, up till now, it's been fairly stable. We've had three different drummers,
Right.
but yeah, they're great musicians. I always feel really lucky to have them playing with me and going on this little journey with me. Like, I really feel lucky. So yeah, so that's who the guys are.
Cool, cool. How about your live shows? I think I saw some pictures on your Facebook page and stuff of live shows. You got anything coming up or
Well, we've it's difficult. It's difficult because the guys. Uh, all of them really, all the players play in other bands as well. They
yeah,
do. They've all got other things on. So one of the difficulties is getting dates when we're all free. I mean,
right,
I'm
yeah,
pretty free. I just do this really. I play on the other people's albums, but I don't really get tangled up. I have done in the past, but at the moment, I don't. I've kept myself focused on this really. But they're doing stuff. So dates are difficult. Also, it's difficult when when you can't say to the booking agents or
right,
promoters, we've just come off a tour. We've just done a nice, you know, tour that we've done. And they go, oh, great, you'll fit in nice on it. I know there's people out there that really
yeah,
like
yeah,
what we do, but when it comes to taking a chance on us, they
right,
seem to
yeah,
be a bit hesitant. But we had a meeting yesterday. The band, well, some of the band members had a meeting yesterday, and we're looking at trying to do something in the summer next year. We're going to try and put a string of gigs together in the summer next year. We've got a few contacts and that through the Magnum thing, really,
right.
that can get in through doors because of the fact that they're in the Magnum camp, really. So we're going to see if we can get something put together in the summer next year, and we'll just have to see if it comes off. Really, we've done a few gigs. We've done a small number of gigs, and they seem to go okay. And we enjoyed them, and we'll just have to see if we can build up the momentum on the live side of things. And we're like I say, we were talking about it yesterday. We had a specific meeting to talk about it.
Right.
And yeah, we're hoping summertime next year, if all goes to plan, we might be able to get out and do a few live shows.
Cool, cool. So most of these people live around you or by you or close to you?
Well, the other band members are in most of them are in the same region as me. They're
Okay.
within an hour,
Oh, good, good.
so
That's
that's
good.
not too bad. The
No,
sing the singers are a little bit further away, but the players
right.
are quite close, within reach. We can get together in inside an hour,
Cool, cool. Yeah, I know many bands I liked just don't, rehearse or tour because the distance. Like this
Yeah,
one band I talked to yesterday, he says I had to quit the band. He was with the band like 10 years, but like
yeah,
it's a 6 hour ride
yeah,
just to do a rehearsal. He
yeah,
said,
yeah,
I got a family. I got to take care of my family too.
yeah,
And it was a good band from Sweden, and he had to go. You know,
yeah.
so
It,
it's kind of sad. You know,
it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, as you all know, a lot of albums are put together remotely. I mean,
right?
even though we live reasonably close to each other, I didn't even see the bass player for
Yeah.
for this album. I knew he was
Oh,
doing the recording. I met up with Rick, the keyboard player, a few times. It was fairly remote, really.
right.
So
Yeah.
I can imagine bands not, being on. Well, I've done albums before where the people that I've been playing for live in a different country.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mostly everything's done on WAV files now and stuff like
yeah,
that. So like,
yeah,
I mean, it's great for the band,
yeah,
especially if they're not planning on touring, at least put out the material for the fans,
yeah,
So it's pretty cool.
yeah.
So tell me about the album cover.
Okay, well, all four album covers have been done by a Polish lady
Uh-huh.
called Alina Slewinska.
Uh-huh.
And when I did the first album, I didn't really know where to get album covers from. And funny enough, one of the guys that I'd played on a few of his albums, I said, "Where do you get your album covers from, Alex?" And he said, "Oh, this lady called Alina in Poland." So I got the first cover off Alina, and I felt like that it was, we're like 'em or hate 'em. They're a little bit of a brand for us. They're a little bit of a style,
Right.
and people often comment about the style of the covers. Well, some people would say, "Oh, they're a bit dark and a bit sort of." You almost expect the band to be heavier than they are because of
Right.
the
Yeah.
darkness of the covers. But anyway, this one kind of fitted. I think I may have had the album title before the cover. And the what since the first album, I've always tried to name the album not after a track on the album.
Right.
I
Yeah.
always try and call the album a completely different thing. I don't want like there to be a title track
Right.
on the
Yeah.
album. So okay, the meaning behind the album title is just what I've experienced. Really, it's nothing bad particularly. It's just what seems to happen is in the music industry. I've found that you start off with you might have other bands that you're friends or other musicians that you're friends, but as you progress or as they think you're progressing,
Uh-huh.
you start to become the enemy. You start to become the competition,
Uh-huh.
and they will not help you on your mission
Right.
anyway. That
Uh-huh.
you are the enemy, like
Yeah.
you're in competition with them. So and even closer to home, friends and even family. It's almost like a taboo subject. They won't
Right. Yeah.
talk to me. They know
Uh-huh.
what I do, but they won't talk to me about it because
Right.
they kind of don't know how to deal with it. Really, I'm just me. I'm just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
old Joe. Like I'm not nothing. I've got no airs or graces. I just do this thing. And
Right.
but they find it really difficult. So the title of the album is really about this feeling of becoming the enemy or becoming the competition.
Yeah.
When it's another band. So the picture kind of fitted the title that I'd got in my head. This
Yeah.
guy kind of out in the rain and sort of um, ostracized, if you like,
Right.
pushed out in the rain and in the distance and trying to survive outside
Cool.
outside of community, like.
Cool. Cool. Well, Neil, it was great talking to you and Become the Enemy, January 24th,
Yeah,
2025, Pride and Joy. Thanks
brilliant.
a lot for the chat. I appreciate it. Good luck on the album. And,
Thank you.
where can people buy it?
Well, it's there's pre-ordering available. It seems like right across Europe. If you just Google the name of the band and the album title, there's online web-based things that are doing pre-ordering now. I mean, well, I suppose anywhere really. Amazon, it's listed on Amazon, but it's not available yet. And directly through Pride and Joy Music, it'll be available through them as well. So it's yeah, there's plenty of places that you can find it, like.
Cool. Cool. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the chat.
Oh, me too. Thanks, Brian. It's been great chatting to you.
Bye bye.
All the best. All the best.